The Detroit Pistons get active at the NBA trade deadline in a 3-team trade, sending Saddiq Bey to the Atlanta Hawks and in return getting center James Wiseman from the Golden State Warriors. And honestly, I absolutely hate it. And I'll tell you why, right here from the DSN News Desk.
Never fall back. We will stay right where we at.
What's good, Detroit Sports Nation? I am Eric Vincent, your host here at the DSN News Desk. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate your time and support because we have a bombshell of a story that we need to address right now. The Detroit Pistons pulling off one of the biggest shocks at the trade deadline, moving Saddiq Bey to the Atlanta Hawks in a 3-team trade in which they acquired center James Wiseman from the Golden State Warriors in the process. Now let's unpack this accordingly. Let's go step by step on how this happened. Saddiq is going to Atlanta. The Atlanta Hawks are giving 5 second-round picks to the Golden State Warriors in the transaction, and the Golden State Warriors are giving James Wiseman to the Pistons in the transaction as well. Now, that was the original trade. Woj followed up with an update where now Kevin Knox is a part of the deal. Now, he's not going to Atlanta or Golden State. He's actually moving to the Portland Trail Blazers, which actually was a piece of the Gary Payton Jr. trade that they finalized. And that's how that ended up coming along. So the Pistons get rid of Saddiq Bey and Kevin Knox, and in the process, they acquired James Wiseman from Golden State. Okay, we spent a lot of time as Piston fans raving and over-crediting and celebrating the brilliance of general manager Troy Weaver. And I believe he deserves it. He's made a lot of brilliant moves from how this rebuild started up until now, acquiring the pieces that he's put together, even from the drafts and trades and the bargain moves that he's made. Troy Weaver has gotten nothing but infinite praise from Piston fans. Now it's time to give a little bit pushback because this trade makes absolutely no sense on its face right now. This is more confusing than the Jeremy Grant trade originally last year before the draft when they sent him to the Blazers for a conditional 2025 pick that they were never going to use. This is more confusing than that because at that point, at least, it was approaching the draft and he was able to parlay that into acquiring Jalen Duren at the draft at number 13. This doesn't seem like anything like that. This doesn't seem like a combo move that makes sense for the Pistons. Now, what we know about Troy Weaver is, as it's been reported, as we know, when he's set on a guy that he likes, he is aggressive in going after him and making sure he's a part of the franchise plan. He did that with Jalen Duren, and he's only shown to do the exact same thing with players he's interested in. Did it with Marvin Bagley as well when they traded for him. And at this point, he had the same kind of infatuation for James Wiseman. When he came into the draft, he was very intrigued by him, his upside as a center, his size, his athleticism. He had a lot of promise according to Troy Weaver. Unfortunately, we haven't seen any of that promise. This man is one of the most injury-plagued players in the entire NBA. And honestly, I don't think he's that amazing of a player, to be honest with you. So, as you guys have known from me, I was all for the possibility of Saddiq Bey getting traded. Saddiq Bey has literally played himself out of this rotation. You can't start off as a damn near 40% three-point shooter your rookie year and then watch it drop exponentially each year after that and think it's going to get saved by you becoming an isolation player. That's not going to cut it. So knowing where Saddiq was at in terms of his shooting becoming bad, his shot selection still not becoming super great, his defense not getting much better, I was okay with Saddiq being moved. Even with it being Atlanta, a team in the Eastern Conference that you may have to run into down the line, I don't love that, but Saddiq Bey is not a player that I'm going to lose sleep over. I've seen a lot of y'all on Twitter and social media crying over the fact that Saddiq is gone. And there's a lot of emotional attachment to that I think needs to be let go, honestly. But considering all that, even with me being okay with Saddiq Bey being gone, I am absolutely disgusted and confused and baffled by the return that you got out of that. I cannot believe this is the move, the big move that we saw this season, knowing moves and trades had to happen, knowing some kind of change needed to happen for this team. This is what we get? This has to be the worst move that Troy Weaver has done so far. It has to be. Now, again, it's possible maybe that he makes this into a move that is capitalized on down the line. But I don't see that happening, especially considering this trend that the Pistons are building, where they constantly acquire these cast-off kind of players like a Kevin Knox, who the Knicks gave up on, Marvin Bagley, who the Kings gave up on, and now you have the same thing here with James Wiseman, a guy that the Warriors gave up on, guy who's been in and out of the G League. He's been dealing with these knee and ankle problems for years. His rookie year, he only played 39 games. Second year, the year after that, he didn't play at all because of a knee injury. And this year, he's only played 21 games because of the same kind of injuries, the same kind of problems. He spent time in the G League. He spent time to try to revamp up, but he keeps getting hurt every single time they want to try to include him in the rotation. And honestly, even when they do, he's not that impressive. He doesn't wow me as a guy that you make this kind of move for. At least not for the Pistons. Like, if this was the Charlotte Hornets who kind of needed a big, I would understand that. If this was a team that was, just desperate trying to make a pop move to like maybe get themselves back into play that needed a front court help, I would understand it. The Pistons have a promising big in Jalen Duren that should be here for the next decade. How does acquiring James Wiseman make sense in that? Now, don't get it twisted. I do think they needed some more front court help. But you're only acquiring these super injury-prone guys in the process. Marvin Bagley can't stay healthy. And now the next most injury-plagued guy in the league is James Wiseman. And now you bring him in. I just don't like that, man. The Pistons have a bad habit right now of trying to take on these project-type cast-off players. We almost got it right by bringing in Bol, but that went out the window because of his physical being failed. This hurts. I don't like this trade at all. I really don't like this move at all for the Pistons. I mean, I didn't expect them to really do anything. If they were going to make a move, I was expecting it maybe to be Nerlens Noel. I'll be honest with you. I would be more okay with sitting with Nerlens Noel for the rest of the season than trading for a James Wiseman who has 2 more years on his contract. After next year, I believe he's eligible for a rookie extension, which could be worth north of 5 years, $195 million. And you ain't paying James Wiseman that. So if that's the case, what's the point in bringing him in? This isn't like a high risk, high reward situation. It seems more of a high risk, low reward, honestly, because I don't see the upside that Troy Weaver sees in a guy like this. He's not very great in the post. Like, he's not the greatest defender in terms of defending. He's not the greatest defender in terms of defending on the perimeter. Not the greatest shot blocker in terms of it itself, even given his measurables. He's not the greatest piece that you would expect him to be, considering his upside that's been praised since he's gotten to the NBA. He's just not that kind of player. And knowing that the Pistons continuously try to build on these guys that are looking for their second or third chance in the league to show who they can be, it keeps showing that it's not working. Marvin Bagley's extension that they gave him, even after how well he played last year, is looking terrible right now, considering that he hasn't been on the floor for a good chunk of the year. That hurts this team. And now you bring on another guy that's super injury prone, and I don't really understand what the point is. I really do not. Again, I didn't like the idea of them having Beef Stew being their backup 5. I'm okay with him being the 4. But James Wiseman as the backup to a Jalen Duren, I don't love it. And then on top of that, you still have Nerlens Noel in the rotation. I don't get it, man. I'm not a big fan of this trade at all. I'm really disappointed. I'm kind of surprised in Troy Weaver because we've seen nothing but knockout moves from him. I still have a sliver of hope that maybe this will have some promise with it, but I'm having a hard time seeing it right now. Like, I've never been super impressed with what I've seen from James Wiseman, and if he couldn't make it work in a system like Golden State, where they thrive on ball movement and people are defending constantly on the perimeter, which means there's plenty of space in the paint for bigs to operate, and he couldn't take advantage or even stay on the court to try to make that a point of emphasis for him, is disappointing. I don't see this. I don't see this being a positive move for the Pistons. I don't see this working out in future terms for the Pistons. I'm confused, man. I'm very confused by this. You know, I'm hoping this is not a derail of the rebuild. I'm hoping this is not what this is starting into, because this doesn't look good right now. If I'm wrong, if he comes out and he's looking like Kareem dropping 20 and 10, I'll be the first one to sit up here and say I apologize and I was wrong. But as of right now, I don't see it. I don't see the promise with this. I don't see the promise with this move. And again, we expected the Pistons to be active in some way. There were reports that Bojan Bogdanović maybe could be moved. We heard all for weeks that Burks was in discussions. We heard the Lakers were trying to call about Bojan. And nothing ended up happening with those guys. We got write-ups and reports on DetroitSportsNation.com. This is surprising. This is a very surprising move at the deadline that's kind of left a bitter taste in my mouth. But hey, hopefully this will parlay into something promising for this future. We can only hope at this point. Talk to me in the comment section. I'd love to hear your feedback about this trade. Are you on board for trading Saddiq Bey for James Wiseman? Are you okay with it? Do you like it? Do you hate it like I do? I'd love to hear your feedback, because this is a hell of a surprise to me, man. Talk to me in the comment section. I'd love to hear from you. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. If you're new to the channel, help us run up the subscribes to 6,000 as we're trying to hit that new milestone. Help us make that happen with your support. We would greatly appreciate it. Make sure you're tapping in on our social media as well. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all of the above. Search and follow Detroit Sports Nation, and tap in with me as well at I am Eric Vincent. Thank you all for tuning in. We appreciate your support. Go Pistons, and let's cross our fingers that this move is going to work out right, man. I'll see you guys again soon with another update right here from the DSN News Desk.